Google is spending $175 billion just to stay in the same place. OpenAI is spending to conquer it. This is the story of a monopoly burning its own house down to stop an intruder. Q4 2025. $63 billion in quarterly revenue. The numbers read like dominance. The capital expenditure reads like panic. Google built an AI that answers your questions so completely you never click a link, never visit a website, never generate the ad impression that funds the entire operation. This is a forensic audit of the most successful business model in corporate history, eating itself alive. For 25 years, Google owned the entry point to the internet, not a piece of it. The entry point. Every query triggered an auction, advertisers bidding in real time for placement beside your intent. That auction, running billions of times per day, is the most profitable advertising mechanism ever constructed. Q4 2025, $63 billion in quarterly revenue, numbers that project permanence. But the forensic signal beneath that number is more precise than the headline suggests. Search query volume is growing, ad yield per query is compressing. Those two lines are moving in opposite directions, and the gap is widening every quarter. The industry term is yield compression. Google's toll booth used to extract value from every vehicle that passed through. A user typed a query, they clicked a result, that click fired an auction event, an advertiser paid. Google took its cut. The toll booth model has one non-negotiable requirement: the click must happen. AI overviews eliminate the click on the highest value queries, not the low-intent browsing queries. The deep research queries, the product comparison queries, the medical queries, the financial queries. The queries where advertiser bids are highest, the queries where the toll was most expensive. Google is not losing volume. It is losing yield on the queries that generated the most revenue per event. The toll booth is still standing. The premium lanes are emptying. Every quarter that yield compression outpaces volume growth, the business model steps closer to a structural threshold it has never encountered before. Not a recession, not a competitor taking market share, a fundamental decoupling of usage from monetization, driven by Google's own product decisions. That is the paradox, and it is not reversible without dismantling the AI that is now central to the product. You open Google, you type a question, 10 blue links appear. You click one. A website loads. An ad serves. A publisher gets paid. The open web functions. That transaction funded an entire ecosystem. Publishers, journalists, databases. Every website built its revenue model on the assumption that Google would keep sending traffic. Now zoom out further. Your next search result isn't coming from a website. It's coming from an AI that already read every website and summarized them so you don't have to. The query still happens. The answer still arrives. The click never comes. The website never loads. The ad never serves. The publisher never gets paid. Google calls this AI overviews. The industry calls it the zero-click phenomenon. Publishers call it existential. Google built the tool, dismantling the open web it spent 20 years indexing. Pull up a 2010 Google search, 10 blue links, ranked by relevance. The web organized and handed back to you. Pull up a 2026 search. An AI overview fills the screen. The links are buried beneath the fold, functionally invisible. Google is no longer a search engine, it is a walled garden. The industry term is digital enclosure, the process where an open information commons is absorbed into a proprietary platform. This has triggered the robots.txt wars. Major publishers like the New York Times and Reddit are blocking Google's AI scrapers entirely. They are locking their archives behind a wall, not from users, from Google's training pipeline. Beneath that withdrawal, the feedback loop is closing. Google's AI scrapes the web to generate answers. Publishers, losing revenue, use AI to generate content at lower cost. That AI-generated content floods back into the index. Google's AI scrapes it again. Google is eating its own exhaust. The index degrades. The answers degrade. The product hollows out from the internal logic of its own automation. This is the predictable outcome of misaligned incentives operating at planetary scale. Google's core product is information retrieval. That is the substrate the entire business sits on. For 25 years, no credible alternative retrieval layer existed. ChatGPT did not steal Google's casual traffic. It stole research queries, the deep, multi-step, high-intent questions that users use to spend 20 minutes resolving inside Google, clicking, reading, refining, returning. Each of those sessions generated multiple ad impressions, multiple auction events, maximum revenue per user. ChatGPT resolves the same research arc in one conversational session. No clicks, no ads, no Google. Here is the structural trap that makes Google's position uniquely difficult: the innovator's dilemma. Google identified the AI threat early. Google had the research talent, the compute infrastructure, and the data advantage to have built ChatGPT before OpenAI did. In many technical respects, they did. They did not ship it, because shipping it meant cannibalizing the click. Every internal proposal to deploy a conversational AI answer layer inside search ran into the same wall: the ad model. A Google engineer can build the future, the finance model will not let it deploy. This is the innovator's dilemma in its cleanest form. Google's $63 billion quarterly revenue is not just a success metric, it is a constraint. Every product decision that risks that number faces institutional resistance from every stakeholder whose compensation depends on it. OpenAI had no such constraint, no legacy revenue to protect, no incumbent ad auction to preserve. Their entire cost structure is oriented toward a single objective: acquire the retrieval habit before Google can defend it. Google is spending $175 billion to defend a perimeter. OpenAI is concentrating force at a single point of failure: the research query. These are asymmetric cost structures with asymmetric psychological endpoints. A defender bleeds capital maintaining the perimeter. An attacker needs only to find one gap. Google's single point of failure is the click. OpenAI found it first. Here is the audit result. The paradox is not resolvable. The AI Google must deploy to match ChatGPT is the same AI compressing the click economy that funds the deployment. There is no version of Gemini that eliminates the competitive threat without accelerating the cannibalization. The open web, the substrate Google's index was built on, is degrading under the weight of AI-generated content and publisher withdrawal. The better Google's AI gets at answering questions, the less incentive exists to produce the original content those answers require. Google is not losing a product race. It is managing a structural contradiction at the core of its business model, one it created, cannot reverse, and must now fund at $175 billion per year. The question isn't whether Google can build a better AI than OpenAI. The question is whether any version of that AI can save the business model that paid for it. Subscribe to DataVault Studios for more forensic breakdowns of the invisible infrastructure running the modern world. Because in the age of AI search, the real story isn't who has the best chatbot, it's who survives the collapse of the business model that funded the internet. Enter the vault.